Wonder Woman, War for the Planet of the Apes, I, Tonya, Get Out, Split, Star Wars, The Last Jedi, Lady Bird. You know it's a seriously strong year for movies when those wonderful films didn't even quite make my list of the very best movies of 2017. So let's get to the countdown.
Troopers, National Guardsmen, state and local police are continuing the fight against a handful of snipers.
At number 10, Detroit. The director-writer team of Catherine Bigelow and Mark Bowl gave us The Hurt Locker and then Zero Dark 30, and then another kind of war film, but this one is set in the America of 1967. All three of these films are classics. Detroit is a searing docudrama-style film faithfully recreating the tragic Algiers motel incident as it came to be known.
Hey, y'all, there's a bunch of police outside right now.
John Boyega, Jason Mitchell, Anthony Mackie, and Will Poulter are among the standouts in this amazing cast. At number 9, It! Now, I know many of you didn't find this adaptation of Stephen King's massive horror novel as scary as certain gotcha horror franchises such as The Conjuring or Insidious. Granted, It doesn't produce a steady stream of easy, thrill ride, jump out of your seat moments. It's a much more subtle, more gradually disturbing, more psychologically twisted, more deeply involving journey. I can't wait for the sequel when the kids that stood up to Pennywise the Clown will be adults, haunted once again by that infamous clown. At number 8, Molly's Game. Now, as a semi-professional poker player, I was really excited about Aaron Sorkin making a movie about the former Olympic hopeful who wound up running the most exclusive private poker games in the country. And I am thrilled to report they got it all just right.
I threw 4 people under the bus for $35,000, Charlie. I noticed you kept that out of your speech to the prosecutor.
No, don't do that.
I took advantage of gambling addicts.
Jessica Chastain perfectly captures Molly's intelligence and her good heart, but also her reckless, self-destructive pattern of behavior. And Kevin Costner does some of his best work as Molly's demanding, perfectionist father. At number 7, The Big Sick. Guys, this Chicago set story is one of the best romantic comedies of the decade.
Can you imagine a world in which we end up together?
I don't know.
Kumail Nanjiani and Emily Gordon co-wrote the script, which is based on their real-life courtship in Chicago when Kumail was a stand-up comic and Emily was a graduate student. Nanjiani is charming and funny and willing to take a hit for the sake of the story when he's being a jerk. Zoe Kazan is terrific playing Emily. Ray Romano and Holly Hunter are wonderful as her parents. You can't help but want to hug this movie. At number 6, Blade Runner 2049. Now, you can't get much riskier than attempting a second chapter to Blade Runner, one of the most influential and revered science fiction movies ever made. But Blade Runner 2049 was up to the challenge. This was maybe the most visually stunning movie of the year, with beautiful cutting-edge CGI that also paid tribute to the look and the style of the original. I thought Ryan Gosling was perfectly cast as the new and improved model of Blade Runner, Officer K, and how great was it to see Harrison Ford return as Rick Deckard. At number 5, Baby Driver. Writer-director Edgar Wright choreographed this tense and exciting heist film to the sounds of a perfectly chosen soundtrack. The result is pure, high-octane entertainment. Ansel Elgort was perfectly fine as Baby, this avant driver with those ever-present earbuds. But the real standouts were John Bernthal, John Hamm, Jamie Foxx, and Isa Gonzalez as the hardcore crooks, and Lily James as the waitress who captures Baby's heart. Best of all, the chase sequences in this movie were almost entirely done with practical effects and genuine automotive stunt work. In other words, none of that CGI nonsense you see in the Transformers and Fast and Furious movies. At number 4, Dunkirk. Leave it to the masterful Christopher Nolan to fashion a powerful, inspirational war film about a retreat, albeit one of the most heroic and important evacuations in modern history.
There are 400,000 men on this beach.
With Nolan employing a mix of CGI and practical effects, and world-class actors including Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Kenneth Branagh, and Mark Rylance helping to tell the story in a very human way, Dunkirk is the kind of film that will just envelop you every step of the way. At number 3, I have Wind River. This is a modern-day Western. It's set in the cold and unforgiving and untamed Wind River Indian Reservation in Wyoming.
She ran until she dropped here to the pool of blood, where her face hit the snow.
Jeremy Renner is outstanding playing a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service agent who teams up with a rookie FBI investigator played by Elizabeth Olsen. They have to investigate the murder of a teenage girl. Now, the dynamic between Renner and Olsen reminded me of the pairing of Scott Glenn and Jodie Foster in The Silence of the Lambs. They're that good together. And at number 2, The Post.
The New York Times was barred from publishing any more classified documents dealing with the Vietnam War.
Now, as someone who got a start in newspapers and still proudly works for the Chicago Sun-Times, I love Steven Spielberg's love letter to the brave journalist at the Washington Post in the early 1970s. This movie is set just a few years before Watergate. Meryl Streep plays Kay Graham, the newly named publisher of the Post, who was not respected by the old-school male hierarchy there. Tom Hanks plays Ben Bradley, the crusading editor who needs Kay to step up and back the publication of the Pentagon Papers, something that could result in lawsuits, the collapse of the Post, and even them going to jail.
Is that legal?
What is it you think we do here for a living, kid?
Now, even though this movie is set more than 40 years ago, it's an absolutely timely film about the importance of independent journalists holding the powerful accountable. That's real news, people. And my absolute favorite movie of 2017 is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Time it took you to get out here whining like a bitch, Willoughby. Some other poor girl's probably out there being butchered right now, but I'm glad you got your priorities straight. I'll say that for you.
This is an instant classic about race, crime, gender, class warfare, sex, violence, betrayal, justice, family, and rotten to the core hypocrisy. Frances McDormand is sure to receive a Best Actress nomination, playing a grieving mother who will go to any length to find her daughter's killer.
You didn't happen to drill a little hole in the dentist today, did you?
Of course not.
Woody Harrelson as the town sheriff and Sam Rockwell as a racist cop deserve supporting actor nods. 3 Billboards, I think, deserves serious consideration for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, and Best just about every other category imaginable. It's the best movie of 2017 and one of the very best movies of the 21st century. All right, that wraps up our look at the best movies of 2017. Remember, join me on Windy City Live each and every week for reviews of new movies. See you at the movies.